Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Alertus webinar series. My name is Sharice Ruan, Marketing Specialist at Alertus Technologies. During this presentation, Cameron Wolgamuth, Regional Account Manager, and Joseph Tuck, Sales Engineer, will provide an insight on effective emergency notification solutions for K-12 schools. Feel free to submit your questions during the webinar at any time, and they will be addressed during the Q&A session at the end of this presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be shared with you after today's session. If you have any questions after this presentation, please email marketing@alertus.com. Now I'd like to turn it over to Cameron and Joe.
Hi everybody, this is Cameron Wolgamuth, part of the K-12 team here at Alertus. I'm actually head of the Eastern Seaboard of the United States for all K-12 organizations, districts, private entities, as well as boarding schools. We'll go ahead and get started, discuss the agenda of today's webinar. First, we're going to go into a little bit of background on Alertus Technologies, give you a brief overview of where we started and where we are now, talk about unified mass notification and how it works. We're going to go over some common ways that most K-12 organizations are sending alerts today. We're going to go through K-12 communication challenges as well, and solutions to adhere to those challenges. Alertus K-12 solutions, such as indoor notification, outdoor notification, as well as personal notifications. And then finally, we'll wrap up with a live demo. I'll be activating from our demo room here at the Alertus headquarters using our Alertus mobile activator application. So who we are, who is Alertus? Well, Alertus has been a pioneer in the unified facility-based emergency notification industry since 2012. Now we are servicing many educational institutions, is where we actually started in the industry. We've grown and branched out to many corporate campuses, manufacturing facilities, healthcare, and military and government bases around the world. So reaching everyone using unified mass notification. In the event of emergency, you want to make sure that you reach everyone with accurate information and no one is left in the dark with how to respond. At Alertus, our main focus is to provide a layered approach and leverage as many existing notification assets as possible and fill in gaps as needed with some of our Alertus proprietary notification endpoints. This allows for audible and visual notifications throughout your facility, indoor and outdoor, to go out within seconds from our activation methods, multiple activation methods. So the Alertus difference. Alertus provides the most dynamic pathways to activate by activating and integrating with many different systems that are most commonly in place in K-12 organizations. A lot of times you'll see PA systems, voice over IP phones, desktops, obviously, laptops, Chromebooks, which have been a huge push in the industry as of late, outdoor giant voice systems, and clearly fire alarm control panels that are already in place. Not only do we have the ability to tie into these current systems, we can take it a step further and fill in those gaps or certain gaps where you don't have a screen or a speaker that we can leverage with our alert beacons, some of our text-to-speech speakers, or some of our LED marquees for larger areas. Once these systems are all tied together and they're all in place, all of your gaps are filled, all of these endpoints can be easily activated from a multitude of different Alertus activation methods using a single press of a button. So going into how you're activating your system now. Talking to many different organizations in K-12 districts, private schools, boarding schools, you'll hear a vast array of different methods and endpoints that schools are using. Some of the most common ways, is it a PA system? Are you dialing an extension through a voice over IP phone to the intercom? Is it just a standard kind of an old school microphone in the main office? Is it a text and email system for parents or anyone that's in your database? And then lastly, you'll obviously see fire alarm control panels and strobes and sirens in all of the facilities. There have been a lot of challenges with these few more common ways of notifications in K-12 facilities. Some of the ones that come to my attention most often. PA systems sometimes aren't loud enough in certain areas like cafeterias and gyms, music rooms, auditoriums. Cell phones are either put away or on silent, or Most of the time it's a majority of parents that are outside of the facility that are receiving these notifications. There are often certain areas where there's no way to reach anyone. Bathrooms, stairways, blacktops, playgrounds, playing fields, outdoors. How do you reach all of these different areas? Lastly, how long does all of this take? These are all really, really important factors when you're thinking about and when you're searching and researching for an emergency notification system to fit your needs. So here we have some references that we have, some current customers that are currently using the Alertus system, and some of the reasons why they're using the system. Alvarado's Independent School District, highly reliant on the National Weather Service and receiving alerts from the National Weather Service. They decided to move forward with alerting their facilities via the desktop, Alertus desktop notifications, alert beacons in certain areas, and then our Threat Watcher application, which depended on certain variables you tell the system to monitor for. In this case, they chose weather bug. So our system's monitoring the weather bug system for any type of weather emergencies within their areas. And then dependent on, say, a tornado warning rather than a tornado watch, certain endpoints will be activated automatically without any human interaction. Daviess County Public Schools recognized their need for increased emergency preparedness and saw a solution capable of quickly sending detailed alerts to numerous schools. They wanted a more efficient method to activate some of their endpoints. Again, many alert beacons in place there at Daviess County Public Schools, clearly using desktop computers, laptop notifications as well. But they chose to activate from USB panic buttons, and these are connected directly to any desktop computer. So that truly is your single button approach to activating the Alertus system in individual facilities. Lastly, St. Benedict's, they had an air horn in place. They had an email and text system in place. They saw the need to expand their reach and their notification assets. Again, they went towards the alert beacons in certain strategic areas, desktop computers, laptops, of course, part of our software, core software. And then to further their reach in certain areas where they had digital signage, anybody walking by their digital signs, they would also receive notifications in hallways. Lastly, fire alarm control panel integrations. They wanted to integrate a system they already had in place for fire emergencies. So they're using our event monitoring capabilities to tie in and expand their fire reach from their strobe and sirens to their Alertus endpoints as well too. So talking about a layered approach, which Alertus is very heavily reliant on, again, is that layered approach to emergency notification. First, you have indoor. You have your alert beacons in strategic areas. You have desktop computers, voice over IP phones, tying into a current PA system that's in place, or using some of our text-to-speech speakers tied to our alert beacons or LED marquees. And then going outdoors, blacktops or playing fields within a K-12 facility or outside of a K-12 facility. We can tie into any giant voice system that's in place, or we can use the Alertus proprietary high-powered speaker array with our text-to-speech built in. For personal messages, we do have a Recipient application that you can use for sending incident reports to the system or to select endpoints, say administrator computers, to see that a notification or an individual is in need of assistance. For public notifications, we can tie our system into your website for notifications, as well as Facebook and Twitter. So digging a little bit deeper into some of our indoor notification assets, the alert beacons. First and foremost, our bread and butter, that's what the company was founded around. Very loud, very bright, will definitely grab your attention if you're anywhere near an alert beacon. But most importantly, with all of our endpoints, it's going to give you some type of actionable information that you can respond to in the event of emergency. There's a number of peripherals that you can attach to the beacons. They're actually pretty dynamic, neat little devices. You can attach an LED marquee directly to the back of the alert beacon for, say, gyms, cafeterias, long hallways, or main entrances even. When their LED marquees are dormant, it's just going to tell the date and time. but when they are active, there's a couple different scrolling options you can choose from on the marquees. Another peripheral you can attach to the alert beacon in areas that you don't have a PA speaker in place already is our Alertus text-to-speech speaker with that technology already built into the speaker. That's just going to convert any message that's coming through the system or to the alert beacon into a clear voice text-to-speech tone. That same technology, that text-to-speech technology, can be driven through your current PA system. So again, leveraging existing notification assets and saving the district money and being as cost effective as possible, using systems that are already in place and the district had already spent money on in the past, and leveraging them as notification assets through the Alertus system. I talked about digital signage in our Alvarado School District reference or case study. Very similar technology to our desktop client. Basically, it's just going to override the digital sign that's in the hallway with an emergency message. The fire alarm interface for indoor notification is basically going to act as a activation method, really. Our system is going to monitor any event that comes to the fire alarm control panel, whether it's a pull station being activated in a wing of a building or it's detecting smoke. Depending on the event, it will activate Alertus endpoints that you've told it to. So digging a little bit deeper into the alert beacon. It's about 7.2 inches by 5.9 inches. It's a decent size wall-mounted device that you can see the lettering up to 15 feet away. The sounder goes up to 106 decibels, and it is very bright with 8 different LED patterns you can choose from around the edge. It also has the option of green LEDs for all clears typically. Powering these is fairly simple. The most common way is over Ethernet. So it just takes one network cable and a few screws, and you're up and running. Obviously, custom messages, anything that you have preset into the system for a certain emergency, will be displayed on the message screen on the beacon. This is the pathway for a number of our integrations with PA systems. And again, it has a number of inputs and outputs on the back for LED marquees or text-to-speech speakers. I talked a little bit about the fire alarm interface as a activation method in monitoring for events. This can activate alert beacons, desktop computers, voice over IP phones, whatever you have tied to a fire emergency or an event that the fire alarm control panel had sent to the Alertus system. Our system is approved by the NFPA 72 as a compliant secondary or complementary system to your fire alarm control panel system. And really that's because we're not going to interfere or mess with the software of the fire alarm control panel. We're just going to be an extension of that fire system. And here's an up-close shot of our text-to-speech module. This is what's going to be directly connected to either your fire alarm control panel, if you have your PA system routed through your panel, or if you have just a regular amplifier in place. This is what we're going to tie into your PA system. All we're looking for here is just a line-level audio input. For more text-to-speech, either we can tie into current systems again, or we do have our own high-powered speaker arrays with the text-to-speech technology built in. These are very reliable systems, and they're fully monitored, so you'll know if you have an operational system at all times, or if not, and they need to be looked at or repaired. These can cover fairly large distances. If this is something the district was interested in replacing or adding to the emergency notification system, we do an acoustic projection mapping of the area desired, or the desired coverage area that you guys are looking for. For personal recipient notifications, many teachers and staff administrators will be carrying around laptops or iPads or Chromebooks around with them at all times. If they're using them and they're actively on the computer and logged in, they will receive those notifications on their devices. There's a couple customizable features that you can take advantage of with the desktop notification. You can add school logos so they know that it's a credible alert coming through their computer screen. You can add sounds. You can add text-to-speech to come through the speakers. There's a ticker mode that you can leverage for general communications if needed, or a quarter screen pop-up. You can also add videos and pictures as well. For a more individual personal recipient notification, we have our Alertus mobile recipient app. It's downloaded from the App Store. Anybody can download it, and it can be individualized per school basis. Anybody at XYZ High School can download the application, type in a unique user code, and they will receive notifications from that particular school if it's activated. And then lastly, voice over IP phones, and we have highly developed solutions for Cisco and Avaya systems. The Cisco system is a little bit more developed. There are some other additional features with that integration, like 911 outbound call monitoring, as well as activating the system from your Cisco phones as well too. The Avaya phones are strictly just going to be used as a notification endpoint. It's going to take over the screen and send a tone out of the phone speaker. And lastly, on the top right, we do have developed integrations with some text and email companies. It's important to mention the provider that you guys are using, and we will let you know compatibility of the developed integrations we have. There's a list of integrations that we have, and you can please reach out to us for any questions on any integration that we currently have. I touched on the desktop notification and the different features that it allows you to leverage, like custom branding, dynamic localization, obviously the custom messages. It is not invasive. It'll sit in the background unless there is a message to display. Nobody will even know it's there. There is a lock screen override. The user does need to be logged in to the computer, but if it's sleeping, it will wake up the computer and display the message. Easy installation, various sizing, and auditing. We have in-depth reporting with the system, and you can track acknowledgments and activations from the desktop notifications. Chromebooks have been a really huge push in the K-12 industry. A lot of districts going 1-to-1 student to Chromebook ratio. We leverage a web push in this sense, but very valuable if each student is carrying with them at all times a Chromebook or bringing it home. Our mobile apps, we have two completely separate apps. One for activating the system, which you'll see here today when I activate the system. And secondly, our Recipient app. The Recipient app has a couple of additional features built into the application itself. One, once you have the app, you'll simply receive push notifications once it's downloaded on the phone. You can also send panic alerts or distress calls to the system or to select endpoints like administrative computers, letting know that there's an incident happening in a certain location, and it will actually pinpoint and show the location of where that incident report was activated. The Cisco phone notification, again, I mentioned some of the features that the Cisco integration entails. Some of the larger points of the integration are the ability to activate the system from any Cisco phone, as well as the outbound 911 call monitoring. And of course, being used as an endpoint. It will override the screen and then push out a tone through the speaker on the phone. So with public notification, and really extending your reach, if there are any cable TV systems in place around the district, we do have the ability to tie into most cable TV systems. There are some depending factors, and I recommend speaking to the local representative, Alertus representative, to find out more information about your cable TV system. We can leverage RSS feeds, common alerting protocol, and we do have an available API for the Alertus system. I mentioned earlier that we do have the ability to also tie into your Facebook, Twitter, and update your emergency page or main page on your website if there is an emergency in place. So all of these different systems, and how do you activate it? Well, there's a multitude of different options here. First, you have your web-based console that any administrator or anybody with the correct credentials can activate the system from their any computer. Log in using your Active Directory credentials or the Alertus credentials. Select your message, and out goes the notification. We have hardwired panic buttons. We also have USB panic buttons. You can leverage Cisco phones to activate the system, and obviously our mobile activation application. So truly giving you that one-touch activation for numerous endpoints depending on the scenario and what you've configured for that specific scenario. So what you're looking at here now is the Alertus core software license. This is downloaded and hosted locally on your own server. This core license comes with a number of valuable and very useful features alone. First, you get the ability to use the desktop notification and all of the additional features, full screen, the ticker mode, quarter screen pop-ups, the ability to add pictures, video, sounds, or text-to-speech. The use of both mobile apps, the Activator and the Recipient app, which also includes the panic button. The ability to override any digital signage around the district or individual school. The ability to use our desktop panic button, which is actually another way to activate the system through your either a desktop icon or in the system tray through a number of presets. The Threat Watcher, which we mentioned earlier in the use case, I believe, for St. Benedict's. Depending on certain variables you tell the system to monitor for, it can activate the system automatically for those endpoints that you selected for, say, tornado warning. Any outbound or inbound activations of third parties or companies that we have a developed integration with for text and emails. And most importantly, live IT training and support. If this was a system that fits your needs, we will work with you in getting the system downloaded, deployed, and configured for getting up and running with the Alertus system. And then lastly, the ability to add on any hardware. We're talking about alert beacons, panic buttons, integrations with the PA system, Cisco phones, outdoor giant voice, any additional add-ons to the core software. This gives a good idea of what a live deployment looks like, a good visual of a live deployment. You can see the scattered alert beacons in strategic locations in certain rooms, desktop computers, some panic buttons. But really you can see the depth of reach we have in a single facility. With a few different solutions and some gap fillers like the alert beacons, you can really get a full coverage of a facility through the PA system, desktop computers, alert beacons in some strategic areas, outdoor giant voice. You really have that umbrella coverage using the Alertus system. So the Alertus system in action. Now it's time to activate the system and show you all of the bells and whistles here in our Alertus headquarters demonstration room. Let me go ahead and pull up the webcam here. All right. So let me go back and show you the home screen on the desktop activator. To activate the system, a principal at a certain high school, they need to activate the system. They're not around a computer or a panic button to set up the system. There was a bomb threat called in. He needs to send out a notification to all of his assets in his facility. You can see here when he pulls up the bomb threat preset, he already has a certain amount of devices that are set to be activated for this activation. Press activate, confirm, and you can see that the desktop computers were activated here in the room, as well as the alert beacons.
threat has been reported on university grounds. Evacuate North Campus until further notice.
So go ahead and cancel the alert now.
A bomb threat has been reported on university grounds. Evacuate.
Now the alert's canceled. You got a good idea there, I hope, of the effectiveness of the Alertus system, grabbing your attention with the visual and audible notifications. But most importantly, each one of our endpoints is going to give you some sort of actionable information that you can respond to there. While I'm in here, I can also show you the recipient application and what that looks like. So to report an incident, select report incident, type in whatever the situation may be. And then you can send that to the selected group of endpoints for the incident reports. This would usually go to a group of administrative computers this will go to, like I said, a select group of administrative computers, letting them know where this incident was taking place. You can see the pinpoint location, which is our headquarters here in Beltsville, Maryland. I can also take a picture of the intruder and include that in the notification as well too, with the quick incident description. And then I would press send. And now, folks, I believe we're going to open it up for questions. So feel free to ask any questions while you have us here today.
Okay. Thank you both. We are now beginning the Q&A session of our presentation. If you have a question, please submit them through the chat or question box. Please note, if we do not get to your question during this session, a representative will reach out to answer your question directly. A recording of this webinar will also be shared with you after today's presentation. Now let's get started with our first question. Can the Alertus server have a backup or standby?
Yeah, so the Alertus server has a utility that's embedded within it that allows the organization to set up scheduled backups, whether or not you want to do that on a daily, an hourly, a weekly, or a quarterly basis, totally up to you. And what that does is that it gives the organization to back up any of the database information on the server side or any of the server software in general. This is key for server upgrades, or if you have any unexpected outages in your network, you can bring it back up fairly quickly. There's also the ability for an organization to stand up a warm spare so that if you wanted to have any sort of DNS load sharing. In the event that your primary or production server went down, you could have a backup to come up fairly quickly.
Thank you. Will alerts still be received on the mobile app when you are off campus?
Yes, that's dependent on whether or not what type of implementation that you have set up for your Alertus network. But the large majority of our customers have a fully qualified domain name for their Alertus server. And so with that, in the event that individuals are off campus and you want them to receive an alert, you can. It's based on how you have your mobile groups organized and which mobile groups you have for certain alerts configured.
How would Alertus integrate with our current parent notification systems such as School Messenger? Or would this be a replacement for parent phone /email /SMS notifications?
Okay, so we have a lot of different integrations with a lot of different third-party vendors. Some of the types of integrations that we have are two-way APIs. For School Messenger specifically, we would have to probably do some discovery. If they have the ability to receive any type of information, such as we can send emails to School Messenger for triggering an alert. We have the ability to send RSS feeds, CAP feeds, or HTTP requests. But if your organization required an API integration, that's something that we could potentially look into for your particular use case.
Okay, thank you. Is there a limit to how many administrators you can have? Can all staff send alerts and updates as an event unfolds?
That's truly up to the organization. There's a couple of different ways you can allow access to the Alertus server. One is on the server. You can create credentials on the server itself. From there, you can create different user roles, obligations, and restrictions. For example, if you wanted, just a certain small number of people to have full administrative access, you can do so. There is no limit to the number of administrators that you have. You can also create, if you wanted a user role or a dispatcher role, so they only had access to certain things on the Alertus console itself. We also have the ability to leverage your organization's LDAP or Active Directory. So if you wanted to create user roles based on Active Directory for a single sign-on, you could do that as well.
Thank you. If I do not want to use text-to-speech or existing tones, can I record audio and use that? Is there a specific file type, file size, or amount of recorded messages I am limited by if possible?
Yeah, so for that, if you don't want to leverage the text-to-speech technology, you can actually push a WAV file. For that, the size of the WAV file and how it gets pushed over your network will be based on your network and what it can support. But we don't really have any limitation on that. As far as the number of WAV files that you want to save on that, so that it would be dependent on the types of files that you wanted to send and the size of the files. So there is on our text-to-speach box, there is a finite number of amount of space that can be put on that. But with if you're referring to Cisco networks, we could also push WAV files over the call manager to the Cisco end devices.
What is the range of your outdoor speakers? We have a 1,100-acre campus.
So for that, we probably want to come out and do some acoustic projections of your campus. I would say, best case scenario for some of our larger implementations, like the 1,200-watt high-powered speaker arrays, we can reach ranges up to about a half a mile or so.
Can the system be configured to send messages to an entire district or just a specific school?
So that's kind of up to how you would like to deliver the messages. Within the Alertus server, you have the ability to define groups. A group can be a school or a school district, or you can get down even granular and send it to one specific device. So it really depends on how you want to set up your Alertus system. So just to give an indication, one Alertus server can support up to approximately 40,000 Alertus connected devices. And when I say Alertus connected devices, that's anything that's going to check back into the Alertus server. So that's a desktop notification client, that's a digital signal override, that's an alert beacon. So you can kind of you can have this set up in a couple of different ways. If you wanted to, you can also even create a hierarchy with your Alertus servers. So you can have one at the district level, and if you wanted to have one for different geographic locations or one for individual schools, you could do that as well and link those together.
And to further that point, Joe, you can also use the user and access rights to restrict certain administrators to see the presets that are associated with the facilities that those administrators are in. So you can basically individualize the system at a district level or an individual school level.
In your demonstration activating the system from your device off campus, when you cancel the alert, will the system announce the cancellation audibly, just as when the system was activated for an alert?
Again, that's based on how you want to configure the system. When you cancel alert, it'll just do that. It'll just stop the alert message on the network. If you would like to send an additional all clear message, you have the ability to do that as well. If you have that preset in your Alertus server, there is the ability to set the time on the duration of alert. The minimum time for an alert is 2 minutes. The maximum is 15 days. So if you have anything that you don't necessarily need to, that's not life-threatening, but maybe it's just situational awareness over the course of time, you can do that as well. But when you cancel an alert, it does just that. It just kind of stops the alert. If you want to send additional information, you have the ability to do so.
Thank you. How is the desktop client deployed?
So currently the desktop client deployed on Windows, it's an MSI file. So what we would do is we would leverage your organization's group policy or SCCM if that's how you're currently displaying or distributing software in your environment.
Will Alertus be looking into a cloud-based solution soon?
So Alertus currently is an on-prem solution, meaning that you would have a server that's on your particular geographic location. We do have the ability to host it in the cloud, but today the organization would have to provide that resource, whether or not it's a Amazon Web Instance or something like that. That is something that we have discussed, and it's something that we currently are considering for future implementations.
Okay. Thank you both. We have now concluded our Q&A session of our presentation. If you have any additional questions or need more information, please feel free to email marketing@alertus.com, and we will be happy to assist you. If you are looking for more information on Alertus and our solutions, visit our website, www.alertus.com. If you're interested in upcoming webinars, please visit www.alertus.com/webinars to see the full schedule. Thank you for joining today's webinar, and we look forward to meeting you again soon.